Hey, hey,
Hey,
we made it.
we have made it indeed. You know, I need some lights in here. There we go.
So, hello. Hi,
Hello.
buddy. How
We're
you doing?
doing it. I'm doing good. And we're doing the thing.
Yeah, man.
We have hooked up with Rock Against MS, and we're so excited. And life is good because the things that we don't really particularly care to do, like promoting ourselves, is out of our hands.
Yes, we found a group that really dug what we were doing and put us on their Twitch channel. So, I had actually been wanting to learn a bit about Twitch. I have an account, but I never did any broadcasting on it. So they approached Jesse and I and said, at any given point, there's like 6 million people watching Twitch or something, and just like I guess it's the way TV's going. People are like looking for a la carte entertainment.
I
So
watch a lot of people who I believe are broadcasting on Twitch and then simultaneously, because I watch most of my stuff on YouTube.
mhm.
But I've been seeing how these things have been going, and it's lovely, really, the communities that I see that are formed and that are there. Hey, Ninja Kitty, how's it going?
Mhm, mhm. Yeah,
Um,
we got a bunch of people jumping in.
it's really when we first started this was what I said to Mike. I wanted to get onto to Twitch, but we didn't really know exactly about that. So interestingly enough, me and Nancy, who runs Rock Against MS, we've been friends for a long time. I don't know if I've ever actually been able to like do anything for their organization, but there was been a few times where we've been talking and I was trying to do something. And she had hit me up about something spiritual, and we had just finished a show, and I was like, we were just about to do a show, and because I just talked to her, I was like, oh, check out the show that we're doing, you'd probably be interested. And as soon as she watched, she was just like, yo, this is exactly what I want to be doing over on Twitch, because this is the beginning for them, like this is
Mhm.
our soft launch. Here we're going to be getting a lot more promotion on Twitch in the future, which is
Yeah.
so
Oh, let me
cool.
put this up.
Yeah, it's so cool, because the money that we make, a percentage goes to the charity. And me and Michael are going to be producing a number of shows, during the week, so that if you want something to do in the evenings, a few times a week, or maybe more, you'll have a place to go and hang out and really just talking about things I love. I feel a little selfish on some level, but I believe that these are things that everybody loves. It's the things that I want to be talking about are the fantastic creations that people are making, which is in comic books and films and TV and all that stuff, and about the fantastic things that are going on in real life, ancient aliens and the Mandela effect and
Yeah.
multiverse. There's so many interesting things. And then the other part of what I like to talk about is the creation process, which I'm talking to my friend Ira Black about, doing something on music about, it's just to help people get a handle on getting into music. And and our show, which is meant to be a a little guidebook. You get the guidebook in Beetlejuice. You get given the handbook
To the
at that
afterlife.
table. Yeah, what is it called? There's like the handbook for the recently
Something.
deceased.
Yeah. Right.
And this is the handbook for the recently conscious. We're going to be
Yeah. Yeah.
talking
Oh,
tonight.
that's cool.
Yeah, we're going to be talking
Awesome.
tonight about our the name, and we've got some guests coming on to help us kind of talk about our definition of consciousness. And if I could kick it off, I really believe that enlightenment, or the path of enlightenment, it's just a matter of becoming conscious of how we behave and what our interactions with the world are. Um, there are a lot of different personality types and sorts of people in this world, and many of us are not really told the unique person we are, and we're sort of all this one size fits all for everybody. And as we see in school and with health and everything, some people learn that way, some people don't, some people get healthy that way, some people don't. It's not one size fits all. And
Mhm.
somebody like me, I came to this very latent discovery that I am, and it's still weird for me to say it because I haven't been diagnosed, but I discovered through my intuition. I came to this chain of videos on YouTube of this guy who suffered from Asperger's, and he was an older person, and he didn't know, and he grew up not knowing that he had Asperger's, and he had he was on a mission to sort of wake people like me up to the aspects of themselves that they may have been missing. And as I
Yeah.
was listening to him, I was just kind of like, oh, like, because it's a big thing to, really to find like
Sure.
what that basically meant was I had sort of constructed a personality like a robot. And I didn't really know what I did, like, because I just went, okay, a little of that, a little of that, a little of that. I'm a person. La, la, la. And like
Yep.
I really recently connected to terror. Like real, like I would always tell you that I wasn't afraid of anything. Generally speaking, that would be my answer. I'd leave some room for something. I'd say something, to not be an arrogant F. But but I would,
You can curse,
yeah, but I would largely just sort of be like, no, I'm not afraid. And then when I started to look, really, I was like, oh shit, like I'm terrified. I'm like the most terrified person I know. Like, and
Wow.
I'm so scared that I pressed it down and taught myself how to pretend to be not scared.
Right.
And
don't we all do that?
Well, yeah, sure. But I did it like in a really big way, because I was viscerally, like I was telling my parents the other day, I'm like, I don't think you guys really understand. Like when I used to get a solo and chorus, like singing well was so not a concern of mine, because the only concern I had was that nobody see how frightened I was to get up in front of everybody and do that thing. And essentially it was because my parents were really like strong and confident people. And I was like, I'm supposed to be like this. But I wasn't like really by nature, I wasn't like that. I was like really scared. So I was always kind of trying to front. And it was so funny too, because, when I was younger and still, to this day, sometimes, people mistake me for being sort of an arrogant person. And it was all of this sort of computer programming that I did to myself to mask that I was not brave. And granted, when I started working with plant medicine, a decade ago now, I began to get my wits about me. I began to get my bravery and make peace with my talent. Like that was something that I didn't feel like that I hadn't. But at a certain point, I had done so much. I was like, okay, like I do this okay. Like, but really for the longest time, I was sort of strangling myself with the fear that I wasn't really any good. And I couldn't do anything. And I was going to be discovered. And like my mother asking me questions, my mother asking me questions would trigger me, because of all the people on the planet, I felt like she knew that I secretly was awful. And all of these questions were just aligned to get to the truth. Wow. And like, like nothing to do evil against her. It was all just me.
Right.
Like, being crazy about myself. And I'll say this one last thing to lock it in. But I got on the phone with my sister the other day, and she's studying astrology, like I've really been wanting to myself. And she said, Jesse, I did your chart and you are fucked, man. And I was like, what? And she says, I've just never seen a chart like yours before.
Wow.
And I guess there's like 10 or 12 placements within the chart, and like you'll be placed in different places. And she says it's very uncommon for there to be like the same placements over and over again. And she says, I have 6 placements in Virgo. I'm September 19th, I think, born in the morning or something. I don't know. She got a pretty accurate like time from my mom somehow.
Right.
Was able to figure it out. And she basically said that the Virgo thing is about sort of being hypercritical. And I have this hypercritical aspect of my personality in so many aspects of my personality.
Sure.
It's my journey. It's my it's my emotions. It's my work life. It's like everything about me. I'm hypercritical.
Right.
And she said, I read your chart and I went, you must be the most self-critical person on the planet. I've never seen anybody's chart look like this. This says that you're just destroying yourself. And this is really what I've been trying to get across to my family, over time, as we've been, finally we all got to a better place to talk about it or whatever. And really, I realized too that they needed to speak, and I was so terrified to hear what they had to say for such a long time that I didn't let
them. You have been doing some serious work.
I have been doing some serious work, but I didn't let them get things out. So so I finally recently was able to sort of let them get a bunch of things out. And I was really mortified about a couple of things they said. A lot of times when they say things to me, I'm like, I did what?
Right.
Like, and I couldn't see that. Like,
Right.
For
Right.
me, and I've been trying to tell them, I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like mom, like when you think I got mad at you, I'm like, I'm so busy being mad at me. I don't got time to be mad at you.
Right.
I am freaking out at me that I did the thing again that I don't want to do. I said, since the very first time I connected on plant medicine, I knew the truth. Like the only thing I could control was me. And I didn't want to be at the mercy of these things that I had been at the mercy of because of like the way I built my personality. And I just started trying to break myself down. But to a certain point, you can't really learn what your triggers are until you get triggered. And then you try to become very conscious of your triggers.
Perfect segue. Exactly what we're talking about.
Look at them and go, okay, when my mom asks me a question, I get uncomfortable. When I get uncomfortable, I say something egotistical. When I say something egotistical, my mom goes, being egotistical isn't a very good, thing
Response.
to be. Right, yeah. Right. And then I go, and then I get triggered worse, and I'm like, you son of a bitch,
But isn't it great to like be able to recognize all of this stuff and be like, just like you said, like, wait a second, I did what? Oh,
but at the same time, and let me just say this for everybody at home, because as you're going through this journey, what's going to happen is you're going to be like, I fixed it, and then you're going to go into the new situation, and you're going to get triggered again, and it's going to be different this time, and you're going to have to figure out, oh, okay, well, how did how did this happen? And it gets a little frustrating. And that's really, take it from the 6th house Virgo, hypercritical man, when you're in that pattern of trying to break a cycle that you don't exactly understand, and, trying to understand yourself so you can get to the root of why you're behaving so, bizarrely to other people. And ultimately it's like, I seem bizarre to other people. Why, like, what am I missing that like I'm losing it here? And, for me, I see it's just like, I am a workaholic. I am always working on myself. And like, I don't go on vacation. People take me on vacation. My wife would go on vacation and I would go, but I didn't really want to go on vacation. I don't like to stop what I'm doing. Like I'm on work, and working on myself the same way. And especially when like money will get tight, or like, I really, aren't and not feeling comfortable in the situation that I'm in. I can't help but grab this beast and try to wrestle it to the ground. And it's been it's been a journey. But I say to everybody in the audience, if you guys can just take the step into consciousness, trying, attempting to observe yourself, observe your interactions with people, observe, that's what consciousness is about. It's about allowing the observer within you. When you meditate, that's what you want to get to. You want to be in a place of observing, for a long time. And still sometimes I have this trouble of like, I'm counting my breaths or some nonsense. You're not supposed to be counting your breaths, really. You're supposed to be observing them. Right. You're in a state of observation.
Let me interrupt you for a second.
No, I want you to stop me, because I want to hear what your consciousness is, and I want our guys to come in.
Yeah, so I'm just really excited. First of all, I wanted to welcome everybody. Thank you so much for coming. This is really exciting for me, because watching Jesse over the last year or whatever it's been, kind of just evolve, and then gets kind of I don't know what the right word is. I've been sucked into this ball of energy of him evolving, and I'm evolving too, and obviously we've always been evolving. We're always evolving. I don't love the term spiritual journey, because that kind of indicates there might be an end to it. I like the idea of the spiritual path.
Well, we started this show
the way you're going,
and I'm only going to interrupt you for 2 seconds, but we started this show because you and I the foundations of our relationship was a lovely game of, you know, sort of ping pong of spirituality. As you know, we would get together, and you know, I'd be like, well, you know, ping, and you'd be like, oh yeah, pong. Yeah, ping, ping. You know,
That's a good way to put it. It's a nice, simple way to put it. It's true.
well, and that's been it. And you know, when I, you know, came out to Los Angeles, it was like, well, we got to keep our conversation going at the very least, and that's what this is. And I hope that, you know, through Twitch, which is such a intimate audience and an intimate place to be, that you know, everybody will be able to be involved in our intimate conversation about this stuff. And we both are very earnest people who try and be honest with ourselves, and you know, and not kill the other people, you know, really take our, take our part of
I know
the
exactly
problem.
what you're saying. Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Exactly
You know,
yeah.
all we can control is us, and you know, and that's what we're trying to get to the bottom of. And please never mistake that, you know, I think I'm perfect, or you know, I'm just
Jesse, you are great.
I'm attempting to be, but you know, it's always a journey. And
please, and you know what, you obviously have given a lot of thought to this moment. And you know how I am about the moment. The moment is now. We're in this moment. And again, I feel like, you know, you gave this class, and I was a part of helping you give that class online, and it evolved into this. But really what this is both of us putting all of that stuff into practice, and this is manifesting out of all of that. And it's just, it's been so freaking amazing. So
you gotta love our awesome graphics, by the way. Like,
so
can we get some hollers and appreciation from Michael? He's been making all these awesome graphics. So much,
you know what?
That my friends on the other shows, they keep going, so can we get any, like, if we do this, we're gonna get any of those cool graphics? And I'm like, yeah, we are. And Michael's been so enthusiastic, like, ooh, I want to get involved. I'm like, yeah, it's gonna be great. So yeah, no, thank you, Michael. You're kicking ass, and this is gonna be so fun. And cool. I'm really excited to just continue to work with them. And I think next week we're gonna have Nancy on the show to talk about Rock Against MS and tell us a bit about it. And so when you're done with whatever else you want to say, I want to hear what your definition of consciousness is.
Oh, absolutely. No, we're going to close it out with that. So, I'm going to take the stage here, and I'm going to kind of bring tonight's a little bit of a spotlight on some people who are in my world, who I'm bringing into this space, into the stream of consciousness. I feel like this is actually, I had come up with this idea called creating space, and I almost feel like this is a version of that. So tonight we are inviting into our stream of consciousness some of my guests, our live stream of consciousness. I'm going to call it. I've got to get used to calling it that.
The live stream made it so much better, man.
Oh, it's
we were playing with names for forever. Love is Law was just like something that we were using for a minute, and it wasn't necessarily like the be all end all. And he came up with a bunch of different kind of cute ideas along the way, like the energy exchange, which we like. And we're just like, we really want something real solid. And we were talking about
that play on words. We love the play on words. So
yeah. Consciousness stream of consciousness stream, and then he said the live stream of consciousness, and to me that was the one that sounded like the purple dragon from Epcot Center. Like I was like, we got it now, the imagination ride, like we're there, the live stream of consciousness.
Totally. So in the past few years, I have made acquaintances with and become good friends with some really interesting, amazing people. I think what I want to do is I want to bring on Russ first. Russ was one of the first guys that I thought of, and Russ is actually kind of the least connected to spirituality, I want to say, directly. He's a super spiritual guy. Russ is kind of like, I'm going to just describe Russ here for a second. You know, people tell me, oh, you've got this calm vibe, you're collected, all of this stuff. Russ is the guy I want to be. Russ is like,
why do you want to be Russ?
He's just so together. He's just so quiet, and he'll sit there and he'll just listen and watch, and then he'll say something, and you'll just be like, man, you are listening and watching everything, and you have some pretty profound view of it all. He's just really great. So Russ is an actor, a writer, a director. He's just a multi-talented guy. I wish I could bring on all of his videos and watch them with you guys so you could see what he is. I met him on the set of a short film called Bullified. and he blew me away. We've been friends ever since. I'm going to bring him on right now.
And forgive me, I'm doing social media stuff, but believe me, multitasking. I'm a much better listener. Remember, the brain.
I'm on the stage. Go.
I know, that's right. I'm giving you it.
I'm bringing Russ on.
I love you.
All right, here he comes, Russ Camarda. There he is. Russ, welcome.
Hey, welcome, Russ.
Wow, I got to live up to that super cool entrance that you did.
Yes, you do.
You wouldn't do anything but live up to that. I have no doubts.
Let's see.
How are you doing, my friend?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me on. This is, by the way, I echo that sentiment. The graphics are pretty cool.
Aren't they really cool? And hey, Russ, that's a pretty crazy compliment that he just gave you, because Michael is one of my favorite people on the planet. I'm like, don't change.
I know. Yeah. I would advise against being me on many different levels, but I'll take it.
Well, so Russ, welcome to our live stream of consciousness, the live stream of consciousness. We have had many conversations about spirituality. I know that we're on a very similar page as far as believing that we're all connected, believing that energy is the source of it. I'm just going to kind of throw those out as the basics. Sure. But why don't you introduce yourself, tell us who you are, kind of validate the things I said. Tell us more about what I said.
Well, just briefly, I mean, you pretty much summed it up. I've been an actor for 30 years. I've directed in the theater and independent film and all that stuff for 30 years. And I also write and produce and a whole bunch of stuff. Hi there. Hi, everybody. I see little messages coming on the screen.
They distract me already.
Yeah, so I've been doing that. I've been doing that for a long time, and just recently, I started in October of last year. I started a podcast where I interview artists of all kinds called Art, Craft, Truth, and it's sort of like if you took Inside the Actor Studio or Actors on Actors or one of those types of programs and mixed it with a kind of a relaxed Joe Rogan vibe, and I interview all kinds of from musicians to actors to directors to filmmakers to dancers to any kind of craftsman.
Amazing conversations. Totally.
Yeah,
what inspired this? Definitely.
Cool. And so that's basically me. And I still
YouTube link. Hold on, let me find it.
Yeah, still act. I still direct. I still do those things. Obviously, we're not doing much of anything now, but hopefully, when things break out again, we'll get back into the actual creation. But in the meantime, I'm really enjoying doing the podcast, which you can find on.
I'm going to put the link up right now.
Yeah, you can find it everywhere. There's a video version on YouTube, and then there's all the audio, Spotify, iTunes, all that stuff. So.
Yeah. You know what? Actually, let me do this, Russ. I'm going to actually share that window rather than put the thing up because it's like a number. It's a whole bunch of numbers.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
But hold on. Russ Camarda, Art, Craft, Truth right there, buddy. So Russ has this Art, Craft, Truth podcast, and he's just, you could listen to him talk forever, just like you could listen to Jesse talk forever. So it's just a great place to listen to some really insightful conversations with all different artisans.
Can I ask you a question, Russ?
Sure.
In all of this that you've done, you meet obviously you're meeting a lot of people.
Sure.
What is the most universal thing that you've come away with just dealing with everybody? Because I really believe we're all so much more alike than we realize, and it's the things that we can realize that we're on the same page about that really get us together.
Right. Well, I mean, if you're talking about artists and craftspeople like that, I think the ultimate thing we're all trying to do, whether it's singers, painters, sculptors, actors, filmmakers, whoever they are in that field, writers, and it ties into the theme of this program, is the whole point is to serve the truth. Is to reveal truth to an audience so that they can experience it. As Shakespeare said, hold the mirror up to nature, so they can see themselves, see the truth of humanity. And once you see that, whether it's in a painting or a piece of film work or whatever it is, and you reveal the human truth, there's a shared recognition of our connectedness. So I think that's what if there's one single theme that all the artists try to do, it's to reveal truth with whatever their craft is.
Well, it's funny. So much. My father always told a really great a story. I forget the band, but he was a really handsome dude. And when my dad met him, he was like, "So what happened to you, man?" And the guy's like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Well, you're a really good looking dude. What made you sit in your room all day and hone your craft until you were a good songwriter?" And he's like, well, this one day I brought my pet turtle to school and it died and they started calling me Turtle Boy. And I pretty much never recovered from that." And, but it just goes to show that, like what I've always said, I make music because I have not really felt successful as a communicator for so much of my life. And writing a song or a story, like I was like, "Whoo, yes, this is definitely what I want to say."
Right. All the things that artists do is there's this invisible thing that we all are, and that we're all part of, and it's the essential truth of what we are, the consciousness, if you were, that is everything. And we only have these tools. We're making sound vibrations, and it's bouncing off of someone's eardrum, and it's going into their brain, but that's such a primitive bandwidth to work with. So you only have so much you can communicate of the truth of existence with this limited casing we're in. So the artist is there to write the music.
Can I say something about that?
Absolutely.
For all of you journeymen and craftsmen at home, don't make the mistake that everybody makes. It's not about complicating the story and the message that you're trying to tell. It's about refining it back down to the simplest polarity. Bible stories are meant to teach the various terrible polarities that we can go down. Usually when I talk about this, I point to, Cain and Abel is like, "Hey man, don't be jealous of your brother. This is where it leads. It leads here. This is the road. It gets worse and worse and worse. This is the extreme version. Maybe you guys will just punch each other in the face, or maybe you guys will just yell at each other, or maybe you'll just be passive aggressive and stop being friends. But this is the journey of, developing these feelings. And the best thing you can do as an artist is make a really sharp blade, of a pure polarization that demonstrates something. People
Right.
keep missing the point with these superhero characters because they're myths, and the Superman is meant to be the blade that the other things are falling upon. He's the constant. And then where the change, if this is constant, then these other things. So when you go in and you're like, "Well, we got to humanize." No. He's a constant. He's been created as a constant, and that's what he's meant to be. And that's how myths work. If they are constant, then we can always measure that same idea against it. And that is, why they've been a little less successful in the more recent years, I think, because they've lost sight of that mythological factor where we're honoring a certain energy and a certain lesson to be learned from each of these characters, who have been defined by their tragic, often, origins. I lost this person and now I've polarized like this, and now this is the lesson that I teach. And we can learn the most from the simplest things. People compliment me sometimes on I think my father does this really, really great as well. I learned this from him, of writing lyrics that don't necessarily go into very specific me territory, that anybody can appreciate what I'm ultimately saying. The point was simple.
The best poetry is always the trimmest, all the fat's trimmed away. In a vacuum, the best poem would be one syllable, but distilled down with all the truth and emotion of.
Right.
So, because again, you're dealing with the tools of this space. So it's like words on a page, paint on a canvas, whatever it is, the less of that you can use, the simpler it is.
And that really inspires me too, because one of the main lessons of this show, and in my spiritual journeys with plant medicine, and other sort of crazy pieces, I've come to this thing that I'm supposed to be sharing about dialect and about how we communicate, how we speak. That, just like the word "fuck," which everybody loves because you can say it so many different ways.
I love that word. It's a good word.
And you can say every word so many ways. You can say love and mean hate. You can say hate and mean love. And even more than that, you know, as you said, a poem is like distilled down to one thing. Imagine if you could just imagine the poem viscerally in your mind and its meaning and say, I love you. And it felt like a poem. And that is in our hands to do. And, you know, right now, the album that I'm working on, you know, it's kind of more of a modern blues album. And I'm trying to pace it a lot more because I recognize that it's the resonance within the vocals that are what move us the most. And so often right now, we're just kind of speeding through this music and we don't feel that heart and soul, you know, that, well, you know, when you hear Johnny Cash with it's the tremble in his voice that gets us. And we're like rushing it.
You know what's interesting is I just interviewed a couple of different musicians, a guitar player who played. She was the guitar player for Cyndi Lauper on tour, and then this other guy's a jazz drummer I know for years, and he played with the Dap Kings and a lot of really great, cool rhythm and blues and funk bands and stuff. Cool. And they finally articulated to me what it is you guys do as musicians, because as actors, I know what I do. I know what cinematographers do. I understand that world. But I said to this jazz drummer, I said, what's the deal with the you know, like we hired you to do this one soundtrack, but the composer said, you got to use this guy. Not every drummer can do what he does. And I said, what was he talking about? And he said, well, there's a thing that we all do. He said, but there are dynamics within it. So if I hold my hand on the cymbal like this, or on the ride cymbal like this, and I turn it like this a little, there's a different intonation, and I know how to get the dynamic. And the woman who's the guitar player for Cyndi Lauper was like, yeah, I can hit the beat like this, but if I accent different things, there's dynamics within and that's why I get it, and the other person
like a language.
When you're doing vocal performance, that like some of the things, you know, that people have noticed about some of the work that I do is I use my voice like a drum. Right. And, you know, and really we lose sight of the rhythm. Like I've been very frustrated over time.
Mick Jagger, very percussive.
Yeah. Well, and I'm really a drummer at heart. As a kid, I wanted to be a drummer. My parents encouraged me to do guitar, and I just never really had as much of a passion for that. But I always loved the drums, and I play, you know, the drums all the time when I'm writing things. And the feel, you know, like some drummers can't swing. You know, the swing is like, you know, there's a song that I love by Marilyn Manson that's got a really great vibe, and it's like called Dope Hat, and it goes and then if you get somebody who can't swing, they play it like completely different.
It's just all variations within that dynamic, that swing.
So it's this subtle math to the dynamic within the lengths of the beats down to, you know, the pulsing, man, you know, like
everything, hitting that. You're laying down the groove, man.
Yeah, exactly. and there are so many more grooves out there. We have this really myopic genre thing where sometimes we don't even know that's a jazz groove. That's like, screw you, man. It's all, you know, it's all magic. And you can use them, you know, plenty of bands have used them successfully here, there as like an interesting little thing. But there's all these different feels. And really it is like, you know, I look for drummers who have played jazz and have played reggae, because those guys actually know how to get a feel going. You need the audience to feel what's happening. You know, people love Jimi Hendrix because you can feel him play guitar.
Exactly. There's a soul, and what you're getting in touch with is what we're talking about here, which is the consciousness that we all are. That's the truth that's being revealed, and that's my belief has always been, to get back to the consciousness idea. My belief, what I think consciousness is, I fall more on the, I guess if you listen to a bunch of this stuff, it would be more on the Alan Watts kind of version of it, where consciousness. Consciousness, to me, what we all are is the ocean, right? And we're all these waves, you know, and the waves rise and they have their little life in the sun and the air, and then they crash back down into the ocean. And there's countless waves. So we're all these different waves, but we're also the ocean at the same time. Because the wave never left the ocean. It's just rising from the ocean, falling back into it. And I'm the wave, you're the wave. We're the same wave, we're the same ocean. We're just expressing different parts of it. And I struggled with, I thought, wow, that's an interesting way.
One of my favorites. I love that.
To feel about it. But what I wanted to get to was, well, why? you know, the eternal question of, it's like, okay, that's an interesting construct to what I believe we are, but why are we that way? And it's like, if consciousness, if God, as you want to, if you want to call it that, is the ultimate creator, well, you need sort of to push the boundaries to create. So it needs to kind of look back at itself in doubt, look back at itself in ignorance. So we come down here, we rise out of that ocean, and we put on this little costume, and we forget who we are. It's like going into virtual reality and completely forgetting you were in there and believing that that's who you really are, when you're really the guy playing the game. But you're in there, and you're in there to learn it from within out of ignorance, so that when you come back to the ocean, you've returned with something new. So only the wave that kind of gets up and sees the sun can explain it to the rest of the ocean when it gets back, you know.
I like to think of myself as a Muppet.
or a Muppet was my second choice.
Well, you know, it's just the idea that I'm being puppeted, you know, like as a radio, like there's a radio receiver somewhere where my thing's coming in, and I'm going blah 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 blah, blah,
Right.
exactly. Jesse move, and you know, because it really does make me laugh, but also it always makes me remember that what's the Michael? Do you remember the name of the cave? You know, where you see the cave and they're looking at the shadows on the wall, and then there's the people behind it who are actually creating
that story. Yeah, no, I don't know the name of it.
It's like a, you know, an hotel. It's got some name for it, but it's just this sort of thing of, we're looking at the practical. But what we always talk about is what came first, the chicken or the egg. The idea for both came first. So idea comes before form. And you know, that's where you're coming from. The thing inside moving the mouth comes before the physical anything.
Exactly.
This is just a concept. And ultimately the concept that we have of physical and the concept we have of non-physical is the difference between how close together all the atoms are in my body.
That's exactly,
you know, or in a thing, you know, it isn't, there isn't even an idea of physical. That's just words we use.
Oh, and
there's denser and less dense individual infinite molecules. I mean, it's really crazy.
It's just consciousness first, manifest matter second, and the other metaphor, obviously, I really identify with, is that one of the actor, which Alan Watts used to use a lot, which is, you know, the actor is the consciousness. He goes down to the theater and he plays Hamlet, and he's so good at it that he's in it. And when he finishes, he gets into his dressing room and his buddy comes in and he's just grieving as Hamlet. And his buddy's like, "You're not Hamlet. You're an actor playing Hamlet." And that's what we are. We put on this costume and we're so convinced it's so incredibly real that we get into the game. We're in the play and we believe the play is it, but the play is just school. It's just something to learn.
So let me interrupt you right there, because that's kind of like, that's the answer to the question, right? I mean, basically what you're saying is consciousness is realizing, wait a second, this has been a sham.
Well, I think more accurately, consciousness is, period. And it manifests itself in these waves of existence in these different realms. We happen to be in this particular one, I think, to experience it so that it can go create again. Right. So while you're in it, while you're in that experience, you think, well, that's it. This is real.
Of course.
But you forgot who you were. You're really something else. And we're
Russ,
all
you're
I'd love
to,
to,
Jesse.
Yeah, can I?
Russ is pretty amazing, isn't he?
Oh yeah, Russ, you're awesome, man. I love this conversation. I mean, this is why we do the show, to have these kind of conversations. This is my favorite. And I want to address something. Brenda Lee Gonzalez, she said, "I feel like the dynamic is different based on who is playing. It's like it's different based on the individual, right?" So check this out. So when you're working on these songs, like as a cover or whatever it is, there's different feels that you can approach it from, but without even changing the vibe, you could change the key, or sing it in a slightly different place in your voice and really change the way it comes across. As he was saying about the drummer going, well, if I hit it here, same thing with my voice. If I hit it here, it's ah. If I hit it there, it's ah. you're going longer, shorter. You're getting resonance of different kinds. Sometimes you're reverberating back and forth. Sometimes you're holding a clear pattern. Sometimes it's reverberation, stop, clear pattern, like there's a lot of different patternings. And in particular, I was working on a song today with my buddy Johnny Nall, who we're going to have on the show. Johnny's a wonderful, wonderful blues musician and psychic. And he's a brilliant dude, ex-firefighter. Is it firefighter or ex-police officer? One of the two. I might be getting it wrong right now. Where was I going with that before I got
in this moment?
The song. So the song that we were talking about, essentially, I found a place in the music where it sounded like the most like crying I had ever been able to find, and it was and it's really specific to where it's placed. I could take a song that has a sad energy to it, put it in the place that I found if it was written close enough to that place, and I could perform it like that. And boy, would you say, man, a different artist brings something different to it. But it's not me. It's me finding a polarity that really brings out the emotional energy of the music. I found the way to make you feel like I'm crying while I'm singing it. That's the whole point. It's a sad song. So really like if you're intelligent about these things, you can figure out how to do this stuff at such a high level and really work to communicate better and really make music to people's ears because you'll be working it on so many levels. People I think are a little clunky sometimes, and they don't.
Right. Well, that's the craft of the artist. That I always, my belief is always that art is sort of it is out in the ether there, and we're sort of we have no way to communicate it. So we the craftsmen, we craft it. So you're using all your tools. You, the drummer, all these people to tell the story, and it's got to support the story. So whatever the song is the tool you choose to help support that story. Whatever the show is, whatever the film is, whatever the part is, I have to play the action that supports that story. And it's always about the story. And what the story should be doing is telling the truth, which again is going back to revealing the truth of what really is.
Yeah.
So
who are the best actors? Daniel Day-Lewis or say somebody like that who just disappears into a role, or some I was really impressed by Tim Roth when I watched Planet of the Apes because I just couldn't recognize him. I recognized every single other actor in the whole movie. I love playing that game where I'm like, that's Michael Clark Duncan. That's this person. And I'm like, who the hell is this damn lead ape? Whole movie. I left and I'm like, Tim Roth, son of a, that's an acting.
Jesse. I just wanted to interrupt for a second. We got a great question from Karen Bella. I don't know if you
There's no interrupting. You're my co-host. just talk.
Yeah, but
damn it.
I'm supposed to have a chance. If I don't interrupt, I don't get a chance.
No, you just interrupt and you don't say anything about interrupting. That's how you're part of the conversation.
I'm just supposed to interrupt without saying.
Get in there, man.
Right. I'll get this better. I'll get this down. We're still working on this, folks.
I'm sorry. I love you. I'm too enthusiastic to hold back that much.
Dude, this is really and I apologize to our guests who are waiting in the virtual green room. I know it's kind of like you're watching the show, but this is really what it was meant to be. These conversations that just kind of stream consciousness, live stream consciousness, that's how it goes. And I did want to, I don't know if you guys have known, I'm totally going on a tangent. I'm not supposed to say that. There's this app called Clubhouse that I've been listening to recently. And I really just love what it's about. And it's similar to what's happening here. So I want to do a little bit of an experiment. Sure. Because I can bring on multiple people. So rather than just, having guests and one person talking, which is great. And I know that this is definitely something that we have to do, especially with people like you, Russ, because these conversations are great and people are listening and commenting back. But I want to bring on one of our other guests who actually still hanging around. Two of our guests are I probably got to text them to get on. Oh, there's one popped on. Sarah popped on. I'm going to bring on Bryan because he's been waiting patiently. Sarah, I will come get to you. I don't see your face, but I see you waiting there. And I'll bring you on. But Bryan has been on our show before. And he's supposed to be there. I just see a black screen. Hang on, let me get him back. Does anybody see him? I don't know. I just see a black screen.
Yeah.
He is a black man, so maybe it's really close up. Oh no, wait,
there he is, Bryan. So Bryan's been on the show before. Bryan is an amazing artist, shaman, photographer. It looks like he's having some issues. He's gone now. So this last
let me answer Karen Bella while you try to get that.
Go ahead and answer Karen's question. That's
Karen says, do you guys feel as artists, writers, that you're conduits, that the consciousness of the creative idea comes from somewhere outside of this realm? And I'm going to answer this question in maybe a different way than you might have imagined. I think that everything that is there to be thought has already been thought. And all of these ideas just exist within, the atmosphere. Being an artist is getting one of those ideas and then honoring that idea to its very core, whatever it is. Like in comic books, I don't have a style. If I'm writing Toy Story, it sounds exactly like the damn movies, or as close as I can get to it. If I'm writing, the Muppets, it sounds exactly as the Muppets I can, or as close as I can get to it. A lot of times you have licensors and people getting in the way who will change the work to take the tone away. But I'm very conscious of trying to study the thing I want to make, and then try to make it as honoring the energy of that thing as close to it as I can. I don't want to put Jesse Blaze Snider into Thor. I want to write the greatest Thor story that anybody's ever heard. And they're going to like it so much. They're going to go, who wrote this? Oh, Jesse, what a great job you did on Thor. I don't want them to go, I think this is another Jesse Blaze story. He loves to make references to Twisted Sister, something silly like that. That's when you start to see the Quentin Tarantino in the Quentin Tarantino movie, it does actually take away from the art to a certain degree. When Quentin Tarantino's idea is pure Quentin Tarantino, it's great because he's just leaning into himself. But when his idea could be less Quentin Tarantino and be better, it's great. But at the same time, you see somebody like Quentin or Robert Rodriguez where they'll honor a certain film vibe, and they'll even make all their actors act like those people because they like that vibe and they want to create that. And that is artistry. When you're taking the thing and you're going, oh, I love this. How do I love it more? And that's what I really believe, that, all the ideas are there for us to find. And the infinite way to do it is just to try to honor it as a good idea, whatever it may be, by surrounding it by the proper polarities and balancing elements that will raise it to, some sort of usefulness for our consciousn's.
Well, yep. Go ahead, Michael. I'm sorry.
I was going to say that's actually I'm trying to manage the show here as well as be a part of it. And that I see, Bryan. I'm gonna get to you. I'm gonna leave you in the backstage for a minute because I feel like I'm being guided to bring Sarah on. I don't know if she is on her camera right now. I just see her little avatar. I would like to bring her on, but the reason that I'm feeling like she's relevant is because of one of the things she does. Sarah is intuitive empowerment coach, but she's also a channeler, and it's very, very interesting what she does, and it's very, very connected to energy and consciousness and all of those things that we've been talking about. Let me add her to the stream and see if she comes on her camera. Sarah, are you there? You look like you're muted. I don't know if she's there. They chose to mute themselves. Okay, so maybe she's not in the room. Interesting. So she's backstage, but not in the room.
That's a really exciting green room. Everybody's partying back.
Yeah, it's like, and it's interesting. What was I thinking about? Oh, there she is. She just popped on. Hold on a second.
She's back.
I see her waving.
We've got her.
Craft services.
There she is. Sarah, welcome. Sarah, do me a favor. You know what I'm going to ask you, don't you? Can you turn your phone sideways?
Landscape.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Now they all match.
I'm sorry. How you doing?
It's okay. Hold on 1 second.
He's such a good producer.
Oh,
I'm good. How are you guys?
We are doing wonderful. I'm actually trying to include everybody. We got so excited about tonight. I invited all of these guests who are all sitting in the virtual green room, which is, I was thinking about that earlier. It's such a cool concept because we are all connected in some weird way. And we all talk about life is what you make it. You know what I mean? And it's like everybody's got their own green room. They've all made their green rooms. So, but Sarah, welcome to our live stream of consciousness. You are now a part of the live stream of consciousness. Initially, I did bring you here to kind of get your take on that basic question of what is consciousness, but I do want to introduce you to everybody who might not know you and what you do. I said you were an intuitive empowerment coach. And we've been working together for a long time. And really, I'll tell my quick story, and then I'm going to let you speak for who you are. When I met Sarah, my friend Steve, who's also waiting in the green room, was running these spiritual get-togethers and these little workshops. And he said, "Hey, we're having this woman Sarah come on, and she's a channeler." And I had heard of channelers before. They tune into these other consciousnesses and give the messages from these consciousness. That's a very basic description. Sarah will tell you more. And I didn't resonate with it. I was watching them on YouTube, and I was like, these people are a little weird. And he said, "No, we're having this woman." And I went to YouTube and I watched a video, and I had an emotional response to it. I was watching her and I started crying. She was speaking light language and doing what she does. And I was like, wow, this is odd. And to me, in my personal experience, when I have that kind of an emotional response to something, it's a sign. The universe is telling me something. I am the closest I can be to my soul at that moment, because whatever thoughts I'm having in my brain at that very moment are manifesting themselves physically into my throat is choking and my eyes are welling up and I'm crying. So I'm touching my soul at that moment. I said, I've got to check this woman out. So I went to that event and she channeled, and I had that same emotional response and went up to her afterwards, and we spoke and connected. And I think we've been connected ever since. And she's really opened up my mind and perspective.
I would like to say as well that I got turned on to Sarah by Michael, and I've been able to just have her in my feed on Facebook, and as I've caught things here there, she does wonderful work, and she's certainly a person doing what we're all trying to do, figure this conundrum of being conscious out.
Thank you.
So Sarah, why don't you tell your story as part of being a light worker, as kind of helping people and telling who you are is part of that. So I'm giving you the stage.
Yay! Well, it's awesome. Thank you for having me on. Yeah, I love how you described having that emotional response, because when you're in your body, you're opening up your consciousness to more than your logical, rational, conceptual mind, right? And sometimes energy, expansiveness cannot be housed in the limited container of the mind. So we need something much larger than that to perceive of that, right?
Everybody's saying hello to you. Keep going.
Hi everyone. So we need the heart, we need the body, we need the frequency of love to connect to the energy of love. And sometimes our mind can't conceive of things because the mind, it will only reference our past experiences. So on one level, you're saying, oh, this is weird, because you don't fully understand it, right? Your mind can't conceive of such a thing because you've never experienced such a thing, right? So if God was to walk in the room right now, we wouldn't be able to, the full expression of God was to walk into the room, we would explode. We wouldn't be able to hold all of that frequency unless we were, in an expanded state, right? So that, I loved how you explained that, because that is part of what I do. So as a channeler, I'm able to, we're talking about consciousness, right? So I'm able, as Sarah, to, expand my consciousness to the point of oneness, where I'm opening up to my multi-dimensional self, which is beyond just Sarah, right? Because our souls are so expansive, they include many different fractals and aspects of the oneness, right? So when I channel, I do believe that I'm connecting to other aspects of my soul and other aspects of, the galactic and what have you. I'm able to, for whatever reason, step out of Sarah and into something larger. That
Is it
doesn't
fair for
mean
me to be jealous of that?
No, because you do it in your own way.
No, I do. Absolutely. No, you're right.
We all do it in our own way.
I just love the way you do it. I love I mean, when you
Well, the
do it,
way-
I have an emotional response when you do it. How's that work?
So I want to back up what you're saying here, Sarah. And there's two concepts, you know, that I think, you know, there's so many aspects to all these things that really, as you can see, the octaves of the truth to what you're saying, I think you really can understand it even better. And you know, it was once put to me that when babies are born, they're not blind and, you know, unable to, you know, see their parents the way we kind of are like told. They're blinded. They come in connected to everything, and slowly but surely the baby focuses in on the universe that it's in, the mother and how the mother feels, and, you know, all these things, the breath of the father, the heartbeat, all these quiet rhythms, and with through the parents they connect to this universe and have this 3D experience. And then additionally, you know, a thing that happened to me, which is sometimes a lesson of working with psilocybin, which, you know, usually called magic mushrooms. You can learn, you know, meditating on the mushrooms, how we individually create our own universe, and it's really all our perceptions of everybody else based on our interactions. But there's a whole bunch of individual consciousnesses running around, and essentially, like, if you took us all away, like, the universe disappears, because the universe exists within us to some degree, right? And while I was sitting in my bed and my universe was deconstructing around me, I was realizing that the ceiling fan that I was looking at was built from a bunch of simple ideas that I was aware of, and that my whole being able to sort of perceive them was based on that. I understood that this was a fan. I understood that this was a chain. I understood how the light worked and connected to the thing, because I'd seen other lights like that. But it was all based on, I could understand what I was looking at, and therefore it was there. But as I started to not remember what a fan looked like or what any of these things were, it was disappearing. And, you know, what she's
You mean the
saying,
mushrooms were taking effect?
no, you know, that's the see, that's a joke that I don't want made, because that joke
I'm
makes
sorry.
it seem no, it's
No,
really,
I'm not
like
joking about the
chastising
experience.
you. I'm not
Yeah,
chastising you.
no.
But I
I'm not
mean, like,
joking.
it's
I love the
really
story.
important to understand that this isn't a joke. I didn't understand what the fan was, and it disappeared. And that wasn't a he's a loose. No, it was because I no longer understood what it was, and I couldn't really see it the same anymore. It was just becoming a blob of a thing that because I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
And that is so huge of what she's saying. We don't know what this is. We're only listening in on a certain frequency and seeing a certain frequency, and we can only perceive so much. So as these new things come in, you know, if God showed up, it would be like, whoa, like,
Yeah.
what?
Oh, that was a
Does
perfect.
not
Yeah, that was.
compute.
Sure.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
back to you.
I love that story. Yeah, you're because you had no filter to understand the light. There, it was melting away, and so it disappeared because it had no significance in that moment, because there was no way to conceive of it. It's
Yep.
kind of like when you do sensory deprivation, you know, the float tank, and you lose all sense of your senses. For me personally, I don't enjoy sensory deprivation because I feel like I'm already able to do that quite naturally. So when I do stuff like that, it's like I actually want my body, I want my physicality, I like having my humanity in those moments, because it's just more natural for me to do that. But anyway, that was a good tie-in, and you know, when I'm in this expanded state of channeling, I'm able to put myself aside and tap into more than, and I'm also able to um, just feel, um, you know, the oneness and the connection of that. So in those places, when I'm channeling, when I'm connecting, let's say in a group, I can feel the essence of people in a place of neutrality and non-judgment, and I can just feel like people's energy in those places. And it's really almost like, I guess you would say, just going in a different dimensional plane frequency.
Were you always aware of your empathy on that level? Like, like, when did you become conscious of this sensitivity that you had?
You mean when did I become conscious that I could channel, or
Well, I mean, what was the journey? Like, for me, and I know there's lots of people who have, come to the conclusion that they're pretty empathetic. Like, I mean, only recently I realized that I would feel people's pain in my body. And when it dawned on me, I was like, oh man, how many times have I done this? And I had no idea, like an idiot. So it took a minute. I wasn't born aware of my empathy. However, the empathy affected me as I developed a personality based on trying to shield myself from people's energy, because it made me a little nervous how much I could sort of sense from other people. And so I had to become conscious slowly over time. I was very blind. Were you very conscious as a child, or did you have a transition where you start to become more conscious of what you were doing, how you were feeling, and how to better, behave in the world for yourself?
That's a good question. I think like most children, you're very in tune and aware. And then as you grow up, you kind of are forced to forget because nobody around you really understands or explains things well. When I was little, actually, I have memories, this is funny, of not understanding why we had eyelids, because I know that sounds weird, but I never wanted to see like darkness. I didn't understand. I guess because as a spirit, there's no shutting your eyes, right? There's just light. So I do remember having memories as a child of not understanding and being very sensitive to loud noises and yelling. Like I remember watching the TV and people screaming, and I would hold my ears. I think as I grew up, I kind of, like you said, the same journey of learning how to shield and protect, and then maybe shutting it off, to cope with reality, and then having a spiritual awakening when I was older. And usually I think spiritual awakenings happen when we hit like a down point in our life, like a crisis. So having some of that happen, and then just teaching and having Source teach me. I never took a channeling class per se. I never, and I know they exist, I just started opening up to meditation and opening up to the gifts and doing the inner spiritual work, the inner work of letting go of the anger and letting go of my own limiting beliefs and lack of self-worth. And all that stuff really, really opened me up to my abilities. So I hope that answered.
I so relate to that answer.
What an interesting, what a gift, because I mean, everything in the little case that we're stuck in. I mean, the reality of what really is, we struggle to perceive it. And I love the idea that you didn't understand eyelids, and you covered your ears, and because the tool with you're given to perceive the truth that's out there is so limited, and reality, if you were a lizard and you tasted with your feet and smelled with your tongue and saw in infrared, reality would be a lot different to you, but it's still it's the same reality. It's just that tool is limited to that. We have tool, but you have this little extra ability that you recognized early to pull some of the veil away of that, so that you're not limited by just that. If we could all kind of find a way, and I agree with you on the mushrooms, man. There are ways to help turn that channel to pull the veil away.
It's awakening of sensitivity. I'm sorry, Sarah. Exactly. It's an awakening of sensitivity to aspects of the EQ of our society, not our society, of our perception of reality. Where if you do it like a scientist, you just go, oh wow,
right.
Oh, my perceptions are a little bit more adjustable than I realized. I've locked in a certain thing, but I did this, and I can kind of change it. You can change how you're.
I have a question. I have a question for you, Sarah, because you have this ability. Because there is one other dimension to reality that is most fascinating to me, and from your perspective, I'd love to hear what you think about it. And that's time. I have this belief that it's not linear. That it's sort of a cube on a cube. It's all happening at the same time. There is no time. If you were a fruit fly. If you're a fruit fly, your whole life would be your whole life, and it would feel like a whole life. For us, it's 2 days. they live, you know.
100%.
So what is time's perception to someone like you? Do you perceive it the same way? How does it work? Tell me the secret.
So, so you're 100% right. We use time as human beings to accomplish the work that we do here. We're given a lifespan, right? A certain amount of time,
Right.
purposefully, so we can complete, tasks and so on and so forth. But yeah, there is no time. And when you're channeling, there is no time. So I could be channeling for an hour and open my eyes and it could feel like 2 seconds for me. Because there is no time on the other side. There is no time, there is no separation, there is no division, there's only oneness. When you go to the highest place of the highest frequency and the most connection and there's no duality even. There's no this is black, so this is white. It's almost like this plane, this field that goes so far that's infinite. So there's no way to conceptualize things because there's no contrast. There's no duality. So you can't. So in that space, and that's where I feel that I go when I channel. In that place, right there can't be time because things are just so expansive.
Wow.
So I think that time is something that we're given on purpose.
Yeah, to appreciate the thing.
Yeah. To appreciate the thing, right? To appreciate life, right? To appreciate life and to utilize it. But
a little time out of the ocean where the wave crests is that little moment where it gets to appreciate.
I want to add something to this because I see it in an even more interesting, sort of dimension sometimes of, because there is no time. Everything is sort of like like a mixing soup. Everything is just kind of, vibrating into a thing. But because of the nature of the multiverse, which is the mind of the universe is sort of figuring out every variation of itself that it can. So there's this like vibrating infinity of this Play-Doh stirring soup that we have, and then it's strummed like a guitar, every variation of it throughout the multiverse until you get all the way around to all of it complete. Like everything is in this bring. So to talk about time, like we are literally in a moving, shaking thing that is changing backwards and changing forward and is just being experienced at the given moment by the portion of our consciousness that is experiencing the portion of reality that it's experiencing. And it is just this kind of conundrum of where do you begin? Where does it start? Who gives a shit?
So time's just a function of that limitation then, right? Is that it's just a function of perceiving through this.
Time is like gravity.
Back to Earth after this conversation.
I don't know, man.
We have gone so deep. This is amazing.
But time and consciousness may go hand in hand, and there's people who talk about like the 3 dimensions of consciousness, having something to do with space, time, and gravity, and that gravity is not exactly what we think it is. And I mean, this is something that's very, very esoteric conversation, but I'd be interested to hear if you have anything to say about it, Sarah, about, basically gravity being more like sort of the perception, our perspective as we root our soul into reality, as we see the sort of 3-way mirror that creates this consciousness around us. We are gravitated to the largest consciousness near us, which is the Earth. So, there's a lot of interesting perspectives on consciousness from gravity from a spiritual perspective. And if you have anything to say about that, Sarah, I'd love to hear any thoughts you have.
What, on gravity?
Yeah, on gravity and time and space.
That was heavy.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, with time and space, I will say that, and this is pretty trippy. So this will get you, if you start thinking about parallel realities and if you start thinking about different versions of ourselves, right? I do believe that I have, we experience past lives, future lives all at once. So there are times where I've felt different expressions of Sarah in galactic form as well, experiencing me as me. Does that make sense? So like my consciousness on a different planet as a different being reflecting back on Sarah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's
like
crazy.
So I felt as well
That's
as
interesting.
feeling like ancient past lives and memories like happening now in the now happening now. So,
Yeah.
so
Who's to say you're hallucinating?
you're not.
You're not. You're literally in the thing. And time is meaningless. So like when people go, oh man, and he hallucinate. Well, he had a conscious experience of creating his own reality in a different way. It was absolutely real for him. That's a hallucination for us. That's reality for that person for that period of time. And that's to be honored.
Sometimes I wonder too, I've perceived these things not on drugs, in my own rational state, but they've made me feel, they've made me feel, am I losing it? And I wonder sometimes too, they say, right, people who touch greatness also touch madness, right?
Oh, yeah,
So,
for sure.
because I mean, when you start opening up to this place of no filters, you can really, if you're not grounded, you can really start to feel like you're.
Yeah, I've been.
That's been my biggest problem, not being grounded. Everybody take what Sarah's saying to heart. Being grounded is very, very important. It's really been some of the bane of my existence. Put your feet in the ocean, put your feet in the sand, put your feet in the dirt, ground your energy, sage yourself. The other day, my mom just kind of intuitively went and saged me. She made me lift my foot. And when she put the sage under my foot, I swear, I felt like my foot magnetized.
Right.
Like it hadn't been magnetized, and all of a sudden energy went back there. Like it's serious. It is a thing to be disconnected from the earth. And when you get that energetic, magnetic connection back, you feel it big time if you've not had it.
Well, Jesse, maybe that's what gravity is, because the physicist theory of it is gravity is kind of the weak force in our universe, but maybe it's the strong force from some other place that's
Yes, I think gravity is ultimately some form of magnetism, which is ultimately some form of spiritual energy that is sort of
holding
grounding us. And,
right.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. And also holding together the cells, in our body and these different states of material. Yeah, exactly. It's a force that is picking and choosing to hold together different things and not hold together other things. And that's why sometimes you eat something to combine with some of the other factors that are going on in your body, and then you'll expel it because now that thing came together. Not all the things form like Voltron into a new thing. Some of the things are repelling each other, and all of that simple magnetism and polarity is so much of what is governing all of our consciousnesses and all of our physical experience all the time.
So let me just say, first of all, thank you both.
Yeah, what a great show we're having. I love this.
Thank you to all the guests in the virtual green room for your patience, because this is way beyond my expectations. In a way it is, in a way it isn't, because I think, Sarah, I've been talking to you about this forever. Russ, I've been talking to you about this in another way. Jesse, I've been talking to you about this. Everybody involved, this is phenomenal. I feel the energy, and I think the people in the room are commenting that they feel the energy. So again, thank you for bringing your perspectives to the live stream of consciousness. I totally appreciate it. I feel like I'm gonna already ask Russ. I'm gonna ask you back. Just
Russ, you're great, man. You're brilliant. You're brilliant, man. I like you.
I mean, I feel like I overdid it by asking so many people to come on. We could have just done this with one of you. Which is
Michael
great.
was just excited. He was celebrating. We almost had another.
No, it's proof of concept. And Steve in the green room knows, about my channel Zen, and Sarah we've talked about too. And this is actually, I think, an evolution of it. I think this is kind of how it's manifesting itself. So again, I just wanted to interrupt because we are at 10:15, so we only have about 15 minutes left. Sarah,
we're allowed to go over time.
That's true. No,
we're not. We have nobody sitting barking at our butts. It's approximately
I want to get to everybody. I want to get to everybody.
I mean, I love how diligent a producer you are, Michael. You just have to shake the energy of like terror that occasionally comes in when you're like, I'm sorry to interrupt, but like interrupt.
I could do this all night. These are some of my favorite people right here.
I know. Get in there.
This is amazing, And again, thank you all for coming in and listening and watching the show. That's part of.
And I just wanted to say thank you to people who write. I saw some really lovely comments, and I just wanted to say thank you for that.
Oh, Sarah, you know what, Sarah? I totally forgot. Hold on, let me put up your.
You were getting some real love in the chat room.
Yeah, it was very sweet.
So Sarah has.
Oh, yeah.
That's where you can see Sarah. Sarah's
For all you
website.
guys who love Sarah, go check it out. She really has a lot of lovely things to say. And everybody, you were talking about her energy. Her energy is like this all of the time.
Yes, and not only is it a spiritual thing that she's got, and I guess it is spiritual, but the little guys that you see there on the bottom of the screen,
they're spiritual.
Is some of her artwork. She's an artist. She does these illustrations of the little guys who are these manifestations of love, right? I mean, basically, it's just like she channels the spirit of Amana. She's channeled the little guys into existence, and it's such a beautiful thing. So check her out. I know that some of the people who are watching will definitely appreciate it. Sarah, you said Wicked Love Media says they want to channel with you.
Yeah, let's connect.
So I would love to actually. I'm going to ask you to come back and actually, if you would channel for us or speak some light language, that would be amazing.
Ooh, that would be so cool. Yeah, we have just her. Like, let's
before I bring Steve on and Bryan, it looks like Christopher Allen kind of took off, but it's all good. I totally understand.
Sarah,
why don't you just promote? I know you've got something really cool coming up. Why don't you just promote yourself for a moment?
Sure.
What that is.
Yeah, so next week, next Tuesday, I have a free master class. It's called Opening to Light Language. So I'm opening up people to the concept of light language. I do believe one of my purposes in this lifetime is to kind of normalize the concept of light language and take away the
explain it. My brother Cody, just to back you up, he has been embracing the light language, and it's something that tends to be a little bit of like a hard nut for people to crack because they feel a little strange, sort of just channeling. And Sarah will tell you more, but it's an interesting process. And if you have feelings of people trying to speak through you or energy trying to speak through you, I highly recommend go take her class, and she will really give you some good guidance. Yeah,
so this is kind of just an intro. I'm going to explain what it is and why you'd want to learn more about it. It really, to sum it up, it's a language of a communication of the soul. It can come through in hand movements and writing, in tones, sounds, singing, speaking. It can be connected to galactic energies, angelic energies, earth energies. And it has a very large, if you've heard of speaking in tongues, that's, I would say, the kind of biblical understanding of what it is. You're essentially a form of channeling where you're opening up yourself to receive another form of communication that's not English and not understood by the rational mind.
Glossolalia.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
It's an even more difficult form of channeling. When you're channeling and English is coming through you, you at least feel like, okay, well, those are words. And when you're channeling this stuff, it doesn't always. Sometimes, from my brother, passing along, and I do that too. I should really admit, let my freak fly. When I'm working with ayahuasca, many times I've had that. A lot of times when I'm trying to prepare a space or prepare myself for something, I'll find myself just sort of speaking what amounts to gibberish, to anybody listening, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you say it's harder. Actually, for me, it was easier. I first started channeling in light language because it takes away trying to understand. You just open up your heart and boom, there it is. There's no, I have to speak English, has to make sense. People have to understand me. No, it doesn't matter if they understand me or not. I'm just opening up and I can understand it. So in a way, it's easier because it takes away my mind. It just allows me to feel into the rhythm of what's being said.
Right. Wow. So if my brother spoke light language in front of you, would you be able to tell him what he was saying?
Yeah, I would intuitively feel into the energy.
I was just going to say, it's really, for me, and it goes back to my story of how we connected. Light language is energy. It's an energy exchange.
Yes.
So whatever it
resonance, like we were talking about before,
the words or the tones, but you resonate with it. You feel it.
Russ said the one word poem, that carries with it the energy of the thing. I mean, this is totally what we're talking about tonight. Ultimately, that's really the thing. She and so much of my journey has been a lot like this too, where I don't see a lot of things. I feel energy, and it's very hard, kind of going blind. But if you can figure out what you're sensing and feeling blind, then you can act, then you really are doing it. You're not using any other thing as a crutch. You're becoming sensitive, and and it's a journey to sensitivity. So I really recommend anybody who's dealing with any of these things, like, seriously, follow Sarah. It's a free class. Like, this is
Sarah,
information that's
she
hard to
also has a
obtain.
group on Facebook called the Empowered Light Leader that you could join and follow and see what she's doing. Because, like I said, I know there's some people watching who would definitely resonate with what you're doing, Sarah. Cool. So before it gets too late, Russ, I'm gonna say goodbye to you and Sarah. Again, you guys, we'll talk about getting you back here and having a show just dedicated to you guys, because you're both amazingly fascinating and brilliant and
Pleasure to meet
loving.
you, Russ.
It was a pleasure.
It was great
guys.
to meet you, man. I'm so glad that we had you on. We'll have you back. And Sarah, I love you, sweetie. It was so lovely to have you on. Thanks for bringing your sweet energy to my show. I hope that some of our people who were so enthusiastic about you will continue their enthusiasm over to your page on Facebook and stuff, and follow you and what you're doing. But thank you guys for joining us on our first episode on Twitch. We'll see you next time.
The green room with you guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
All right. Awesome. Wow. That was, my mind is blown. This is way more than a
success.
Yeah, this is amazing, dude.
So wait a second. This is what the moment I've been waiting for. Michael Zinn's definition of consciousness.
Oh,
should I drum roll for you?
Wow. You know what? For me, I'm gonna kind of be silly here, but I'm gonna say it all comes down to one word, and that is knowing. I process all of this information. I resonate with the theories and the concepts that feel right to me. But at one point, I literally stopped saying, I believe this, and I started saying, I know it. The things that I resonate with, to me, are truths. And I think what's cool about that, in what you're saying, is I also understand that your truth is going to be different than mine. You're going to resonate with a lot of the same stuff, and we have these conversations because some of the truths of existence we agree on, but just like you're that other wave of the ocean, you might perceive something a little different than me, and what's cool for me is I'm cool with that. It's like, I'm not going to try to say, but no, what about the way I see things? I mean, why would I? That's what makes me.
May I expand upon this brilliance?
You must expand upon this brilliance.
All truths are truths. Whatever personal truth you hold, it's true, because this conglomeration of all this thing, the multiverse, and all the various versions of you, and all the various versions of all the other people, and all of the different ways that it can go, it is all one giant thing. It's all connected together, and it is one godly or infinite mind, and this mind happens to be polarized in all sorts of directions. And the person who likes it hot and the person who likes it cold, there's no right or wrong.
Right, of course.
It's just different perspectives and different appreciations. And where is the ultimate perspective? Somewhere in the middle, somewhere balanced, somewhere a little, if you're experiencing the hot for some period of time, you're like, well, that was nice. Next time I'm going to appreciate the cold.
Right.
As we're cycling through life, and we're all journeying away from the source, away from the uniformity of all being just one thing. We're differentiating ourselves and making ourselves so different that we have to kind of come back to ourselves.
Well, that's the actual journey that we're on.
Exactly.
But we think it's the journey of differentiating ourselves.
Yeah, but what I'm
that's
saying,
what we've been told.
Ultimately, it's just true. It's the Nazi is right. Unfortunately, this is a bet. It's to say that, please, nobody ever take me out of context, like what I'm saying right there. But it's just true.
No,
that
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
The most terrible perspective we can think of, unfortunately, because it exists, and there's no real wrong, just like there's no real time. It just we have to come to a more balanced perspective of it. And it's not that we're not trying to cycle away from these more negative and dense energies. Yes, of course we are. But the more we tend to resist ourselves, the more we resist aspects of ourselves. And trust me when I tell you, every aspect of somebody else that you might not like is just some tiny, tiny, tiny little aspect of yourself, because you are these people. These people are you. I am Michael. Michael is me. The audience is, this is a collective experience being done by this one thing that is split apart and celebrating itself in many different capacities. But because of that tapestry that we are, like, there can be no paradox, there can be no thing that's wrong. The universe can never be wrong. All paradoxes must be worked out. All of these polarized people, we can't just burn all of the pedophiles.
Well, fighting against that, I think fighting against that idea itself is part of the human condition.
Exactly. Because
I mean,
I was saying, we can't round up all the pedophiles or the rapists. We have to teach them. They're going to come back again, and they're going to be doing the same thing again. If
Thanos is inevitable.
Exactly. If we don't cure the person at their root, at the core of this energy distortion, the energy distortion keeps coming back. So we have to meet, somebody like a Nazi with a certain amount of love, so that we can not get lost in an ideological fight. Because at the end of the day, the source of all things, the hearts that are inside us, want to live in peace, want to feel not persecuted, and like that they are somebody who's taking a supremacist position of any kind, whether it's religious or racial, it's out of fear that they're being persecuted. And I know that because I'm somebody who will go and watch the YouTube channel of some, black supremacist or Jewish supremacist or Muslim supremacist, because I want to understand why have they gotten like this? And all of them, they all think that they're being persecuted, and they're not wrong, because God can't be wrong. So to sit there and judge them, you're just having a fight that's useless.
If only everybody could understand it the way you and I do.
Well, I mean, it would be lovely. It's like,
it would be lovely.
We can't have these useless fights anymore. They're what have gotten us here.
Well, social media. This is our contribution to social media, to dilute that and put good back into the live stream of consciousness.
And the Cain and Abel story is a perfect story for social media. Look what happens when you treat your fellow man crappy. This is a brother, and families are being split apart because of partisan politics and stuff. And people are encapsulating somebody down into just a one-word sort of statement of who they are. Nobody should be or could be, encapsulated like that.
Right.
And
dehumanizing.
And this is the thing
Very
that
much
causes the World War II's, what happened to the Jews and what happened to the so-called communists during the McCarthy era, and the Japanese, like, we're in war with Japan and there's Japanese people here. Yeah, well, sure. Like, just making somebody a group that can now be marginalized. That's it. As soon as we sum them up into something that dehumanizes them and separates, us from them and their unique individual journeys, that, hurt people. So, if you feel like somebody's hurting you, it's probably because they've been hurt before.
Right.
And that's really it.
Absolutely.
And
that's part of what we're saying. Consciousness is being aware of that kind of thing, and just being able to navigate. Knowing these things helps. So again, I know we don't have a time limit, but I do appreciate people waiting in the back wings. I'm gonna I see Brian's waving at me. Steve, I'm gonna if you can just hang on a little bit more. I want to bring Brian on. Brian,
I was just saying goodbye.
Oh, you got to get out of here. Okay, well, Brian is a familiar guest to the show, so I did want to, you were waiting so patiently, Brian.
Well, it was a great show, and it was absolute torture. I want you to both to know that it was just writhing in agony, because I wanted to respond to so many of the things. It's like, you guys are so cruel, man.
Yeah. So you know what? I think I'm going to try to evolve this into that. And that's why I brought Sarah and Russ on at the same time. So that Clubhouse app is more about conversation. And I feel like, again, all of the people that I'm bringing onto this stage have such a wonderful input into the conversation. So I feel like bringing them all together. So what we're going to try to do, Bryan, is bring on a bunch of people all at the same time and just kind of have these thought-provoking conversations.
But we got to get better about the times that we tell them to show up in the back room.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. So,
anyway, really enjoyed the show, and
good, awesome.
You guys are really great, and I wish you absolutely best of luck on the Twitch.
Put up Bryan's links so that people can check out his awesome tarot decks. People who read angel cards or tarot like I do. And I'll say to me, if you're in the market for an angel or tarot reading, I've been doing them with people, and I'm getting my hands on some of Bryan's amazing cards. They're really great for people who are learning. They're filled with information. Every one of these cards has so much inscribed on it, and they're so beautiful from his light paintings, which are just gorgeous. So please, check out the Wizard of Odd. And Bryan, thank you for being a pal and being a part of it. And the next time we have you on, we're just going to go, all right, Bryan, go.
That's a frightening. Yeah. Okay. Hey, peace, guys. All right. We'll see you later.
Peace out. All righty. It's just
Wicked Love Media says he wants a new deck. Go get Bryan's deck. Oh man.
Oh yeah, dude.
It's so gorgeous,
his
man.
Stuff is amazing. Yeah, his stuff is amazing.
And informational, like more than it more like I like for me personally, more than it is a pretty deck. It's like having a piano with all of the notes written in tape, like for learning. You're like, that's
right.
It's like a tarot deck that has a framework around the literally the frame of the card that has all this extra information that really, as you're learning these things, if you learn those concepts alongside the concepts of the cards, they're just going to give you so much more of a understanding for what these things represent when you're doing reading.
It's amazing. Yeah. When I looked at, that was part of how I met Bryan. I wanted to do some tarot cards with my artwork, and I saw he had done it. So I reached out to him, and when I saw how much work he had put into it, I was like, I think I got to back this up and learn a bit about it. But he's such an amazing guy, and I'm just so happy that we struck up our friendship, and we'll be working on some things together. But I guess it's time for our last guest. I think I lost Christopher Allen, unfortunately. I just a shout out to Chris. He's doing some amazing stuff too, and we will have him back on the show. I appreciate him showing up and hanging out in the green room. Too bad he couldn't hang out.
You might have overdone it a little bit.
I might have overdone it. But Steve,
I love your enthusiasm, though. We've been like going, we need to prepare ahead of time with a guest, and then he's like, I have 6 guests.
So Steve, you may remember you did a gig at the Holistic Center for Soulful Living.
Yes.
And Steve is the saxophone player who joined you. He's a great friend of mine. Hey. He's the saxophone player for a very, very popular band on Long Island called That 70s Band. But he is also a mindfulness meditation coach. He's a past life regressionist. I've watched him take a left. He was doing these music promotion things. We were doing a whole big music promotion concert, and then he just took a left turn and went down the spiritual path and became a hypnotist, and has just been, man, oh man, he's another one of us. So I'm going to welcome him to the stage. Steve. All right.
Hey, what's up? Nice to see you. I tell you, I echo Bryan, sitting back here, just thumbs up on basically everything that you guys have been talking about. Just fantastic. Hey, Jesse, it's so great to see you, man. You remind me so much of Russell Brand, man. You got that freaking Russell Brand energy. It's just, I love it.
Except I'm not British. My accent.
We can talk. Can you guys hear me all right?
Hold on. I'm trying to turn off the headphone. Insulation. That might work. Yeah, that worked. Good.
A little better?
Yeah.
Good.
Sweet. Awesome.
First off, fantastic show, guys. Just
thank you.
Spot on. Every word. Fantastic. All of your thoughts, all of your direction that you took. Congratulations on the first one. Sarah, I love Sarah. We've known each other for quite some time. We've done some work together, and it was great meeting Russ. You guys you got it going, and it's really it's something more and more people need to be aware of what consciousness is and how important it is and how to understand it. So, namaste to you guys. I appreciate every word.
Thank you so much. That's a amazing endorsement coming from you. I know you know how I've been kind of talking about this for a while now and doing the things, and ended up on the screen instead of behind the screen. But you know, Jesse's energy is just so apparent, and his passion for what we're talking about has just blown me away. You know, watching him grow into, I mean, he was like, he came into the picture as a shaman, but he's now just like super shaman. He's just like really, you know, going deeper and deeper every time. And this is great. And bringing these conversations out, I think, are just, I guess there's something to it. It's an energy. It's an energy.
I think so.
We're really stirring up that vibration and that energy.
I think it's not by chance that, you know, the three of us were also musicians, and we grew up with frequencies and sounds and frequencies and sounds, and things are changing and shifting cosmically for us. Our solar system is traveling through a part of the galaxy that humans have never experienced before. So this high vibrational frequency, intense light and sounds is really amping things up. More and more people's intuitive selves are expanding. People are starting to figure it out. You know, a good friend of ours, Karen Garvey, who was a spiritual teacher on Long Island, she told a story at an event one day. She said, you know, in 1999, if you looked into a Yellow Pages book, which we used to do back then, and you looked up spirituality or crystals or Reiki or all this stuff, you would find one listing of Madame so-and-so on Queens Boulevard in this little shop below. And here we are, 22 years later, and literally humanity has spiked. So when we match this time period, this timeline, we talk about time, where we are now as a human consciousness expanding, it's absolutely incredible. So as you know, I am a certified hypnotherapist, and I specialize in past life regression. And I studied Brian Weiss, Dolores Cannon, and I tell you, I had to change my modality name because things are shifting. People are not just going back into past lives. I've had experiences with people actually going back 400,000 years to the Anunnaki and the development of human consciousness. People going back to where the solar system was just being formed.
I'm having you on across the universe.
Yeah. So I'm spending a lot of time working directly with intuitives and channelers, and recently experimented with something that just kind of blew me away. I regressed 2 individuals simultaneously and brought them to a higher level of consciousness and to higher dimensions, and which they were able to communicate on a soul level in higher aspects of themselves. Because, of course, the whole discussion that you guys have been talking about here, we're in a multiverse. We're multidimensional beings. We're actually experiencing aspects of ourselves on multi-dimensions. So one of the experiences brought them to literally the edge of the universe, and they were talking about creation and how the universe is created through energy and triangles and just amazing things. So we're really moving. You were going to say?
Well, I really want to back that up, you know, that the foundations of the universe, you know, the whole motivation behind this class and teaching universal law, you know, to a certain degree, I believe that like from up until the number 12, like every number after that doesn't really matter. You know, that from this real basic structure, we formed everything, you know, all the colors and, you know, the basic parameters that come from 1, 2, 3 of black and white and gray, you know, and that's the parameters of this octave that we're in. And within this light, you know, of these gradients, we have these 6 colors, you know, and this 9, you know, is there. When you see in a tarot deck, you know, it'll sometimes go a little higher, but really up until 9, and that's all you really need. Then the cycles and the patterns just start repeating again. At that point, you have enough points to create so many complex shapes that are ultimately markers for other more complex shapes and layered sort of octaves of all this stuff. And when, you know, you do the plant medicine experience, you can literally see what looks like ancient Hebrew writing written in the fabric of the energy of the molecules that are making up various things, the walls and the mirrors and the wood, and you sit there and you go, wow, it's literally like one of those little curly Q pieces of writing. I see it written in the thing. And these pieces are sonically significant. They are making a tone, and it is the ideation and the vibration of these things. It's, as we said, this like Play-Doh of mixing all these things together. It's made up of all of that, all these little vibrating, uniquely different pieces. And it's just, simple shapes that are governing everything.
That's right. And the triangle, the pyramid, is the creation. So very, very interesting. And I love the discussion of no time. And when we do raise our level of consciousness and we're able to expand, we literally can visit aspects of ourselves multidimensionally. So your soul will provide you, Jesse, you, Mike, me, Steve, in this lifetime, information that is germane to what we're going through in our soul contract in this particular incarnation. So we can actually learn, heal. And when we heal ourselves in this incarnation, we're literally also healing our entire soul group. So your parents, your grandparents, your grandkids, and so on and so forth.
And you're healing your multiversal self.
Correct.
You like as say you get a little head of the pack of your you're helping all of the yous and all of the other things. Right. It's affecting the energy all throughout.
That's right. Yeah.
It's funny, it's interesting. I was having a problem. Sometimes I get caught up on words, and I think I've told the story to both of you guys about my struggle with the word God and my struggle with the word faith and how I broke through those. But oh my God, I just lost my thought. It flew out of my head.
Oh, a Jesse happened to you.
Yeah, a Jesse happened to be. What was the word? What was the word I was just thinking about?
I know. One specific word?
Goodness.
Is it the poem that Russ wanted us to write?
It wasn't the poem. Oh my God. Did you see it? Did it like
onomatopoeia?
Was there an orb that like flew out of my head or something? Oh my God. I felt it.
So, when we sum this whole scenario up is what is consciousness? We're here. We chose to be here in this lifetime with this flesh puppet, with consciousness, with an ego, with a personality, with a contract to be the best version that we can be and to remember our connection to Source Creator and that we are multidimensional.
Can we get a link up on the screen for Steve so that we can have people who might be interested in getting their, their past lives, for anybody who has any doubts about, past life regressions, he is talking about the be all end all past life regressionist, Dolores Cannon. Go listen to Dolores Cannon talk about how her and her husband got into hypnotherapy and her very honest, earnest journey into a insane place of taking people to the Akashic plane of existence, whereas the sum of all information, something that I've spoken about a lot on other episodes of the show, but a place that I try to connect with when I meditate to pull, I apparently have a very good connection to this, and I try to consciously connect myself to that sum of knowledge, because you can pull forth from what you know on this larger level, this multiversal level. I'll say something even beyond, what he's saying. I've been guided to connect to my multiversal self, to steal away, not steal, I should say, borrow or co-opt skills that they have. In another life, I did learn the drums, and apparently I can go into meditation and I can pull from my memory in my other life the ability to play the drums. And if I get myself into a meditational, state and I get in front of the keyboard, I could start playing the keyboard and teach myself how to play if I am able to connect to this part of myself that already damn knows. Wow. And because of the nature of the multiverse, which it's just working everything out, there is an exceptional version of you out there somewhere. I promise you. You just have to believe it exists and connect to that idea and concept. And it's just really, the next level of, you could go into a session with Steve with that, as your intention of like, I'd really like to connect. You're like, this is what is on the table, and opening ourselves up in a higher level to our multidimensional self, and also ourself as a member of the human race that is one with everybody and has no interest in hurting or harming or, just freaking out anybody around us, because that's just freaking us out. And we're going to have to experience that when we reconnect to the source one day. They're going to be like, look what you did. You did this and this and this. These are all the ways you ruffled the system and made it not harmonious. Right. So, we wish to be harmonious on a subconscious level, and being able to connect to this deep level of ourselves and visit the Akashic record and go to the past lives that we may have brought energy into in this life that we need to resolve. I really trust Steve, and I think he's a really wise and gentle guy. And if you're interested in this path, you should really get together with him. And if you ever want to just try it out as like, let me see if there's anything to this, go on YouTube and do one of just like the little guided meditation things to connect with your past life. They're general. So, you're going to have whatever experience you might have. But I've had some little glimmers of experiences from those things that really opened me up to it. And then later in meditation for myself, or, working with somebody, I was able to pull forth a lot more things that were just sort of on the tip of my tongue already, just listening to something on YouTube. And when you're ready, take it to the next level, and really you can learn a lot about yourself.
Wow.
Yeah. Fantastic.
And you just come out with these things, Jesse. You just like blurt out these things. So I remembered what it was I was struggling
good things?
with.
Do I blurt out
great things? Oh, amazing
okay,
things.
good.
Amazing little nuggets of love and knowledge. So what I was struggling with was just terminology. And again, some people are going to be like, but the term, the other side. So, when Christopher Allen or some psychics that I know they're speaking to spirits, that's a term that they use, the other side. But really, we're talking about multidimensionality. So is it like there's no others? It's like saying the other side is like inside versus outside. It's just like, it's like the other side is just poof into the ether. It's the other side is everywhere.
It's only in this dimension of that we have form.
Right. So I guess it's a human reference to say the other side, because it's like other than human.
I got to say, I love the conversation going on in our chat room tonight. I mean, like across the board. It's been really brilliant stuff. Real quick, I just want to say, Lisa, you're so on the money about so many things she was pointing out. Child prodigies, 3 years old, playing Mozart, total past life brought into it. Yes, totally agreed. Thanks, Tim, for joining us a little bit late. We're going a little late tonight just because it's our first time on Twitch, and we're kind of celebrating. We had a bunch of guests, and we're enjoying it. Wicked Love Media. Oh, I love you, sweetie. I don't even have to know you, and I love you. You're saying such lovely things, and thank you for being part of the conversation. And Taylor, you can absolutely reach out to me, and good luck on your podcast that you're doing with your friend. Just bring love to it, baby. Let your passion out. And if you're anything like me, I've found that my journey as this 6th house Virgo is basically making peace with who I am, but probably in the most extreme way, because I think that's all of our journeys to a certain degree. But I'm like, I guess, hyper focused upon this making peace with me, because I am useful when I'm at peace with myself, because I do have a lot to offer. But when I'm not exactly grounded and in my right state, I can't connect to that part of me that really just wants to do the best job I can, because I get compromised like anybody else does. And that's what this show is about. It's really, honestly, this is a gift to myself to help me practice what I preach, gosh darn it. And, and maybe if I talk about it enough, I'll start doing it, because every time I fall short, I'm so mad at myself, because I do know, I know the way. But as I said to my dad, I said, those who can't do, teach.
And it's funny. It is funny. And admittedly, you had a rough year, Jess. Right, and you're teaching this class, and I'm like, man, he's teaching this class. He's talking about all of this amazing knowledge, but he's just struggling so much.
It's a unique individual journey of trying to get a handle.
I know
on your
it's amazing. I'm really happy for you. I'm really happy that you are back with your family. And
I appreciate it. I feel mighty.
You are mighty. You are fucking mighty. You are. You are Jesse Blaze.
Thank you, sir.
And that being said, Steve, I'm going to also ask you to come back. And I think again, kind of proof of concept. I think each guest we had on tonight could be an episode. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah, well we already knew that.
Yeah.
I think Michael just got a little excited, which is great. I love your enthusiasm. And Steve, while we have you and before we have you go, because we'll have to probably wrap up by a little before 2 hours or whatever. I wanted to ask you that same question that I asked Sarah. The journey that we're on. So many of the people who you might call psychic or or whatever else. We're not so much psychic as we're sensitive. We're just sensitive to the world in various ways, and often in the beginning we don't know what the fuck is going on, why we're having trouble or why we're experiencing things so differently from other people. And it's a crossover point when you become conscious that you are different or that you're experiencing something different. And when you as soon as you choose to try to figure that out, that's the journey of enlightenment, going, okay, I'm going to get a conscious handle on this thing because it's just happening without my permission all the time, and I want to be a part of this journey. So where did you find yourself transitioning? I think Michael had said that he saw you really change in major ways over time, and he's really known you for a long time. So I'd love to hear what he means by that.
Well, thank you for asking. It was when my wife of 25 years and I decided that we had a good run and we were pursuing different avenues in life, and I was more heading more on a spiritual path, and she wanted to travel, and our kids were older, and we looked at each other and said, hey, we don't hate each other, we're going to change. And we split and divorced at that time, and I'm happy to say at this juncture we're still amazingly good friends, but I was guided to go in this direction. There was an intrinsic feeling that I was here to help people. I knew I always rooted for the underdog when I was younger. I'd always stick up for the person who was being bullied and those sort of things. So I always had this empathetic connection to humanity, and I felt it. And I was fortunate to have two parents who were teachers. My mother was a language teacher, so she taught me how to communicate. My dad's a professional musician. He taught me how to play music. So it just kind of merged. Everything came together, and now I am on a path of helping people remember who they are. And we come into this lifetime as a soul with our memory wiped clean, that we are part of Source Creator, and we have an ego and a personality and six senses and free will and a contract to work on this and this and this and this. So as we do this, we're almost peeling layers in an effort to try to become the best version of ourselves. And earlier in your conversation with Sarah and Russ, it was brought up that it's almost as if, guys, it's like we're in a play and everybody has a role. So Jesse, you made a reference to earlier, people who do bad things to people, they have a role. They're here in this life to be the contrast.
Oh, that's such an interesting
perspective. Really, I love it. So when you meditate and you allow yourself to look at situations, in other words, everything outside of you, every person and every situation is there to show you more about yourself and your truth. So if that person happens to be, their level of consciousness is lower and they're vindictive and frustrated and angry and judgmental or hurt people or whatever, their role is to be the contrast for the rest of humanity to recognize that and to see the light. So we're literally helping each other from lifetime to lifetime, and the objective as a collective is for us to raise our vibration as a collective.
Helping each other. I want to double down on that. Everybody in our lives are not just like there; they are necessary. It's let's say, sometimes people say somebody's an old soul. Like, it's a nice compliment when somebody says, "Oh, you're an old soul." Hey, that it's no insult to the people who are not old souls, because the old soul and the not old soul are necessary to each other, completely necessary to each other. Right. The other one cannot progress without the other one. In a case in point, like it's been coming up for me, many times, which, I've always ultimately had a very balanced view of myself, but somewhere along the way, things, sort of were being told to me of my nature on a soul level of being kind of old, and notions of sort of like superiority were sort of coming up, like just because of the nature of how we view things as linearly. But I watched as I had been told that my family was going to get together and we would have this great healing circle, and it was really going to do a lot of help for my family. And at the time, I couldn't bring that together. And I had no idea when it was going to come. And I thought, well, one day I'll be in the position where I guess I can do that, because I can't do that at this moment. And then, around, I forget when it was, but it was a little while ago. And my brother called me and he was like, hey, I want to set up this thing and it's going to be a healing circle with the family. And I was like, oh my God, you did the thing. You did the thing that I was terrified to do. I couldn't do that thing. Like, and I literally, when my brother got to me to like pick me up to go there, I dropped on the ground. I kissed his feet. And I kept telling him, I was like, you don't understand. Like, you have to appreciate this. Like I could not be here doing the thing that I know I'm supposed to do if not for you. You are the conduit for me to do this thing. If you weren't here, I couldn't do this. I connected with a guy, Gianfranco, who's a musician out here in Los Angeles. Gianfranco just happened to post a picture of me and him hanging out on Facebook. I posted a post on Facebook going, hey, I'm lonely, I need a friend. Gian said, hey man, I'll be your friend. Me and Gian started talking about making music. His friend goes, hey, Jesse? He's perfect for this music video that I'm going to be in. Meanwhile, this music video is George Lynch's new band. It's like, it's getting thousands and thousands of views.
You did amazing. You did amazing. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Just the first thing that they did. They're releasing it tomorrow, and I'm the lead in this music video. I don't have that opportunity to do that thing. That thing doesn't happen until I make the friendship with Gian, and then Gian, all these things. We are all necessary to each other, and nobody is an island. It's important to feel like, you have done it yourself, in that you have made the choices freely to be the best person that you can be. But ultimately, there is no doing anything without the cooperation of the universe, and you have to humble yourself to the realization that you're not going to do anything unless you're cooperating with the thing, because that's where all the best things come from our cooperation.
Absolutely. I love that. It's the awareness of the level of consciousness that you choose to be in. So when we're in that level of consciousness, which is, I'm not ready, or I'm feeling lack, or I'm feeling unease. That's a level of consciousness. You can be sitting across from somebody, and I could be sitting across from you, Jesse, and I could be, my body language is down. I'm feeling really out of it. I'm just, feeling low and that sort of thing. And you could be within feet of me in the same place with a higher level of consciousness, like, hey, life is good, man. I trust the universe. I'm going to vibrate at higher frequencies of acceptance of what is, and gratitude, and creative and purpose. And you're vibrating here, and I'm down like this. It's all a choice when we're present in the now moment. And that's why being present is the most important thing.
Knowing that. Sorry, Steve. Knowing what you just said has been the cause of so much depression for me. Because when I don't feel right, when I don't feel like I can give that to others, I don't want to talk to anybody I love. Because, Taylor had said something earlier in the conversation. She said, I feel like sometimes my energy can be toxic to other people, and I don't want it to be. So I'm always conscious, like trying not to be toxic. And it's the same thing. Like when you're aware that how I show up to the room is really affecting my friends, and and then when you feel not right, you're like, I don't want to bring this to the people I love. I would hate to share this energy with them. I only like to share you can do it. Let's get in there. It's going to be fun. Like, I love you. Let's go. Like if I feel this, I'm like, shh, don't say anything. Run away.
You use two words, I and you. When your ego is in charge and you're feeling less than, you're in your mind, and your mind is overthinking. And you're in fear, and you're in judgment, you're in all these things. When you're in your heart center and you're in your I am presence, you fully trust. You're fully accepting. Your level of consciousness has gone from here to here. And now you're vibrating here, and all things are possible. We are powerful co-creators, and we co-create with our level of consciousness. Our thoughts and our intentions can be vibrating to where I trust, I want, I desire. You can literally plant seeds of positive potentialities. I would really like to experience abundance in the field of music videos. Woohoo! 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 Instead of
if
shit.
you can be at peace with it, you know, like if you put the enough energy, consciously deciding a thing. And you know, it's funny. I want to say to people out there too, and we're going to wrap up in just a second, but you know, there's a double thing a lot of times to consciousness, because so much of the best that the human race has to offer comes from a very unconscious place, a intuitive place where the infinity can come through. So, you know, we're doing a dual work when we're really trying to open ourselves spiritually, a dual work to try to connect as much of the time as humanly possible to our sense of lightness and love and freedom, so that we can be riding that wave that Russ talked about earlier tonight, in a place of, yeah, it goes up and it goes down, and it's the roller coaster of life, and my perspective is never affected. But also be conscious of what we're doing while we're on that roller coaster of life, and who we're passing along the way, and how, whether or not we're creating wakes with our boat that knocks over all the other boats. You know, there are other people in the water, and when we're thrashing because we're feeling, you know, not right, we end up affecting everybody else, whether we know it or not. Usually our families first and foremost, because they're the ones closest to us energetically, and they feel the ripples first. You know, your mom can feel it, like when you're not right. You know, like I just, like in her heart, she's just like, you know, I've been worried about you. Like, how'd she know? You know, but that's the thing.
So
we are just tuned into each other as a whole, and it just continues to go out to the further ripples. And then there's our good friends and our, you know, less close family, and the people who were just tied through soul contracts, and then everybody continues to be like spread out in this thing. Everybody can ultimately feel on some level when Jesse Blaze Snider is not happy. And I want to be a part of the energy system that is chill and relaxed, and helping everybody else to feel chill and relaxed, because I know that from this place we can be intuitive. But the only way we get to the intuitiveness is by being conscious of who we are and what we are and what we're doing.
Great. Awesome. Look at that. Wow. And you know what? Honestly, I'm looking at my screen, and I'm looking at this little three of us here, and I'm like, that's what this is. That's what this is. That's what this has become for us, Jesse. This is just really this is significant. This platform to achieve some of the things, Steve, that you're talking about, that we've been talking about for the last couple of years, the shift in humanity and in raising the vibration. Look at what we're doing. I mean, we had 20 people hanging out with us that weren't even here. They're just at home, and they're digging our vibration and listening to the conversation and raising the vibration.
Angela said in the comments, a smile is infectious, so are tears. And then I yawned. Yet another thing.
So was a yawn.
You're like yawning goes around the room. And also the wave at a sports stadium. It's infectious.
That also goes around. Yes. Awesome. Well, listen, Steve, again, thank you so much for your patience hanging out in the green room, waiting to come on. Your wisdom is always worth it for us to wait, and I'm glad you waited to give it to us. And we definitely want to have you back. We're gonna figure out the format of this and focus on one thing at a time. So maybe
we're gonna get our schedule, and we'll start individually putting in. And we're probably gonna start having all our guests come in maybe like a half an hour late, so we can get all our conversation in the beginning and do our normal like half hour talk, and then we can get into some stuff with guests and, you know, get ourselves out of the way. But thank you so much, Steve, for coming. Thank you to all our guests who came tonight, as we say goodbye to Steve. And I guess we'll get Steve out of here, and we'll wrap up.
All right, Steve, I will talk to you.
Love you, man.
Thank you so much for coming and showing us your beautiful face.
Likewise. Thank you.
And soul.
Awesome. Oh, my God, Jesse. I'm just beaming. I'm going to be talking about this for days.
You're beaming. Yeah. Oh man, I'm loving it. And isn't it wonderful how this has come? You know, my sister, when she was telling me about the Virgo thing, she was like, you know, it must be so hard for you to get anything done. And I said, it used to be. Because I'm such a perfectionist.
Right.
But I said I broke myself of that a long time ago, because I was amassing so much creative work that I had done that I hadn't released. And I was just like, oh, this is just stupid. Like I'm just sitting on all this stuff. Like I got to just break myself of this habit, accept it is what it is, and put it the fuck out so that I can at least feel like I'm participating in the artistic conversation. Because I was feeling like, I was an artist who wasn't really participating in.
You are an enthusiastic participator of life.
Yes, I am, mother effer. Yes, no, I am, motherfucker.
You know what? Honestly, I feel like this is the you that I've always seen, and I've always told you that I've seen this you. The Jesse Blaze.
Oh yeah, am I being more me?
You are so coming into yourself right now, and because of that, all of the stuff that you're doing out in LA, in California is happening, and this is happening, and everything is manifesting. Everything we talk about is just coming to, and it's just amazing to be a part of that.
A lot of cool things are happening. Did I tell you that Food Paradise, our episode order got doubled from 13 to 26?
That's amazing.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
It was really cool too. I've been me and O'Malley Productions, we've been working together for years now. We have such a lovely relationship. You've heard the story, but maybe others haven't. But long story short, I almost got fired from Food Paradise, not for any reason that I did anything. But they were just, the new production of Discovery was just wanted to go in a new direction. They were going to have it hosted and do a countdown show. And O'Malley fought for me, not just once, but twice. And the second time when they fought for me, they got me back on the show. And then when a head producer came in, they started doing these 65 episode order seasons. And so I've recorded 175 episodes of Food Paradise. I believe I've recorded 149 with O'Malley. There's another production company that's come in and done a few episodes with me as well. But now with these extra 26 that we're getting, I'm going to cross 201 episodes. And it's just so crazy. And even better than that,
amazing.
Sean, he's, we've developed such a great relationship over the time. I really believe that the success of the show stems from the wonderful relationship that me and the producers have and the writers have together. We really like each other. We get along really well, and we make each other laugh in the room. Our sessions are maybe a little longer than they might be if we were just being totally pro, because we all recognize that being able to laugh and speak a little bit, if necessary, helps to create an energy in the room for us where it's light and it feels good. And that's the show we're making, where people are trying to enjoy food and have a nice time. So it totally comes through in the way things are produced. And we've all bonded so much that, and I've been doing all of these little voiceover things for O'Malley for cheap, just like, hey Jess, can you do a little thing here?
Right.
And I always say yes. And I never expected anything from that other than, I hope that whatever the thing is, maybe it'll turn into something for us and then we'll all get paid. But because I've been doing all that stuff, and we got our approval for the double episode order, I told Sean that I was using the money that I did like these little teasers to tease the network so that they would give us the double order. And I said, I'm using that money that you're paying me for that to fly to New York so I can see my daughter for her birthday, and bring a couple of my kids back with me for a minute. And Sean said, I have, points through the company, and I'm going to fly you to see your kids.
See how that works, man?
Because I'm a dad, and I appreciate, how much you got to be missing them, and it's so friggin' sweet. And now, I've got my, booking my ticket right now to go.
That reminds you, when is that? When are you going to be back in New York? I'm going to see you, right?
I guess theoretically we should get in the room together for one show. I mean, I feel a little bad to come in and then disappear from my kids for an hour and a half, but maybe I can just keep it a short, we can keep it a shorter one, on that night. And so that we can come and do the thing, and, we can be in the same room for an episode, which would be great. But that's going to be, the 8th, I think the 8th would be the Thursday of April. Because my daughter's birthday is April 12th.
That's soon. Awesome.
Yeah, so I will be in town, and I will see you.
Awesome.
And
I like what Tim said. I put it up on the screen.
I meant the show is
the pebble, and the viewers are the pond.
Yes, that's so nice. What a lovely compliment.
Really.
That demonstrates that you've been paying attention to what we've been saying and appreciated it really deeply. And I really appreciate that, Tim. Thank you for that. That was so sweet. So I want to say a bunch of things. Michael, I'll leave it to you to I'm
just going to run the animation. When we're done.
Well, you add, and feel free to add anything that I'm forgetting here. I will say next week on Tuesday, we're going to be going a little bit later with a geek culture show that I used to do with one of my best friends, Tori Ireland Mel. Me and Tori are inviting my best friend, Aaron Sparrow, who is a very knowledgeable comic book writer and editor. That's how me and Aaron know each other, as we wrote. Tori has done all sorts of things in the entertainment business, working more largely in film, but he's a huge comic book fan, huge pop culture, geek culture fan like myself. And the three of us are going to be getting together every Tuesday and doing a show on, just like we're doing right now, produced by Michael Zinn. He's going to be helping us with our cool artwork and getting everything right. But it's called Coolest Alive. And if you like geek culture stuff the way that I do and appreciate superheroes and Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings and, all these things, we are going to be talking about the latest and greatest things that are going on that matter to people like you and I who give a shit about that stuff. And oh boy, do I, and oh boy, does Aaron, and oh boy, does Tori. And if you like my passion for spirituality, wait till you see my passion for comic book and toys and superheroes and myth and, and I just love that stuff. And I, as a writer, I have such a deep appreciation for it because I've studied so many bits of mythology in order to write them, in order to love them and make people really, really love me for trying to do the best that I could for the thing that they loved. That's always my goal. I unfortunately, I always wanted people to like me since I was little. And I thought if I could do nice things for them,
always wanted people to like me.
I thought if I could do nice things for them, that, create things that they like, that they'd be like, oh, I like that, Jesse.
I think there's an interesting question. I'm just not sure who it's addressed to.
Andrew here, are you the cloud spirit?
Yeah.
That's interesting, man. The clouds once sent me a song while I was on psilocybin and I was doing some meditation and shamaning. And I was talking to the clouds and they said, we've been looking high and low for you, honey. We've been looking everywhere. We've been looking high and low for you, brother. We've been pulling out your hair. And I don't know if I am a cloud related. I think I am somehow related to the fire, the element of the fire.
Definitely.
And I it's funny. I'm very rooted in the earth in my physical body, but I think the energy that comes through me, is that of the fire, which it's been really hard for me not to burn myself dealing with the fire. I literally have an idea for a story that's supposed to be like Care Bears and My Little Pony on acid called Rainbow Fire. And it's about this planet or whatever where there's all these animal critters who have elemental powers, but the only ones whose powers are awful are the fire ones, because when they get their powers, they burn themselves terribly because they can't control the power that they have within them. So all of the Rainbow Fire people are just these terribly scarred cutters who are just depressed that like their power is just destroying them. I really feel that connection.
I like that idea that the power is destroying them. That's
Rainbow Fire. Rainbow Fire. I just see that in my mind. It's like this Care Bear anime show. Rainbow Fire.
Oh my God, Jesse, you're
these
amazing.
Four little bears, anthropomorphic bears with burn marks on their face.
Oh my God.
And a sweet Care Bear marking on their chest. They're just these loving beings.
This is why I love you.
Themselves. Thank you. So anyway, anybody who wants to join us, I believe we're going to be rolling the show out around 7:30 my time in Los Angeles, which will be 8:30, 9:30, 10:30 New York time. And it's going to be a lot of fun. For the moment, I'm going to start with these two shows. And I've got two other shows once I finish my traveling with my kids that we're going to be introducing. But right now, remember on Tuesday, I'll be sending the word out as we get links and things to the people who I think might appreciate it. But if you're somebody who would appreciate it, you want to know about it, make sure you drop me a message or whatever. And I'll try to remember to send you the link because I will be sending it to different people. There's some people who I consider my spiritual group, and there are other people I consider my comic book and geek culture group. But if you want to be a part of that group as well, and trust me, it's worth it, come join us on Tuesday and meet my lovely friends. If you love Michael and all the wonderful people we've had on the show, wait till you meet Aaron and Tori Ireland Mel. They are just two of the most fun and passionate and funny and smart people on the planet, and they're very uniquely
human
different.
Circus.
Yes, it is my human circus. I really I'm so excited actually to sit with the three of them. Anyway, to just close everything everything else, thank you to our lovely audience, our growing audience that has been passionately here every week. So many of you guys have been with us so religiously, for lack of a better term, we so appreciate it. It really means so much to us.
They've been here consciously,
yeah. and you see Michael beaming this evening, beaming with pride of the little show that we've got here. We finally have a title that really speaks to the show, the live stream of consciousness. I'm so proud of the work that we've been doing here now for, I don't know, the better part of like half a year at this point. We've been doing this for like a good 6 months or whatever.
Started in September.
Yeah. And, and for those of you who joined us, newly, please go back. I don't think we still have not cleaned them up as well as I would like to, but we have 14 episodes of the original Universal Laws class, which teaches, foundations of Hermeticism and Kabbalah and so many other different mixes of various cultures all around the planet that have been saying essentially the same things about how we're all one and how we need to cooperate and make peace with each other. And that is what this show is about, being a conscious, peaceful being. And thank you for being so enthusiastic. Thank you for getting us as deeply as I see that you are in the comments. It means so much to us. It warms our hearts. And we hope you will join us this and every Thursday as we, do our live stream.
Wow, so professional. That's
awesome. because we love doing it. We have so much fun and we appreciate it. And thank you to Rock Against MS for becoming our backup in this journey and being our promotional arm, as next week we're going to be getting a lot of promotional money put behind the show to help us build our audience on Twitch. And thank you to everybody who watched on Twitch and did any donating to to our group and this show, which ultimately, like I said, a portion of that money gets put to Rock Against MS, and they do a lot more than just good things for multiple sclerosis. They're a really wonderful conscious company that is consciously choosing what to do with their money and their power every moment. And in this moment, they have consciously chosen to connect with some people that they felt were like-minded and to back them up so that we can all benefit and all make some money for ourselves and and be a community of people making the world a better place. So I'm just so grateful to Nancy for connecting these dots for us. And thank you. And Michael Zinn, thank you, my friend. Thank you for your enthusiasm. Everything looks so beautiful. Everything is so much love is put into every little thing that he sends my way. I love seeing the little graphics and stuff, and he'll make up some little catchphrase or some little tag, and he's just playing. And that's what I wanted this to be. I wanted us to have a good time so that we would want to do it, because like the moment it becomes a job, it's like, you got to show up and do it. But if it's fun and it's just evolving and the thing that we want it to be as we discover what it should be, and that's really what it's been. I'm so happy, I'm so proud of you. And next time, please honor me by being just as freaking overbearing as I am.
I will.
And run me over with no apology.
I'm going to interrupt you for a second.
Yeah, don't say that. Just say your thing. Jump in.
Just fucking do it.
Yeah, because one, it's superfluous information. You're like, look, we want to hear what you have to say. I want to hear what you have to say. And for me, it is that ping pong game that we play.
Yeah, I love it.
Best when you hear me say something, then you go ooh, ping pong.
I haven't had a formidable ping pong opponent in a while.
Bring it on, motherfucker.
It's on, man. Awesome. All right. I'm going to
anyway, we love you.
We are out.
Good night.
Peace.